Welcome to tonight's program on password managers. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. It's easy to forget that some of the choices we make when it comes to passwords can put us at risk for hacked accounts, identity theft, or worse. My name is Mike Edding, and I'm joined tonight by my colleague, Susan McBride. Before we start, I'd like to give you a quick rundown of what we'll be covering tonight. We'll talk about why you might want to consider using a password manager, how the use of one can improve your online security, and how password managers can actually make your life easier, not more complicated. We'll discuss the various types of password managers and why you might choose one specific type or even a particular product over another. And finally, we'll show you what they're like in real life with some brief demos. So what are password managers? They are computer applications which store passwords for various logins in one place. By using these programs, you only need to remember one strong password, and that gives you access to all the passwords that you've stored. My personal journey with passwords begins a few years ago when my main email account was hacked. At the time, I was using, like a lot of people, I think, maybe 3 or 4 passwords or some variations of those for most of my websites that I used. And while my bank account and credit card accounts remained secure, I later noticed that an online television subscription I had canceled was reactivated in my name for several months without my knowledge or my permission. So after this sort of disruptive event and rather scary one, I decided it was finally time to create different logins for every single site I visit. So I changed all my logins and kept a printed list of passwords to access my accounts as needed. This worked okay for a while, but then I found that keeping it up to date became rather cumbersome. So a couple of years ago, I decided it was time to actually get a dedicated password manager. And I changed all my passwords and logins again. And since that time, accessing all my accounts and websites has been a piece of cake. I also feel more secure knowing that I'm no longer relying on 1 or 2 passwords for multiple online websites. So before we get too deep into the topic of password managers, I'd like to talk a little bit about passwords themselves. What makes a good password? First of all, a good password is never just numbers. These are ridiculously easy and quick to crack. A good password should also not be a common word. Hackers use automated programs which attempt to guess your password using dictionary words. So a string of words together offers more protection, but it's probably best not to use words. A good password should be long, at least 8 characters, but preferably 12. And this may be the single most important factor in your password security. A good password also uses a variety of characters to add complexity. It's not all lowercase letters. It's not all uppercase letters. It has some mixture of those. It might have numbers in it or even symbols mixed in. And it's very important to use different passwords on every site. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So at this point, I'm going to open up a website called passwordmonster.com. And this will actually show you some idea of how changing various things about a password can improve its security. So bear with me while I share my screen. Okay, so this is Password Monster. And I have checked the box up here that says show your password. And I've typed in sort of this sample, easy to guess password called Peppers. And you can see that the time it takes to crack the password is only 0.06 of a second. So something like that is not secure at all. You might think that you could fix that by maybe changing these E's to 3s. Let's see if that makes a big difference. So I'm changing my E's to 3s. So it still kind of looks like Peppers, but it still takes less than a second to crack. So that's not great. Let's go back to Peppers here. And if I add some length to it, we're going to do a lot better. So I'm going to type in onions with peppers. Onions with peppers. So they still say this is pretty weak, but it would take 2 hours versus the fraction of a second that the other options that I used showed. So if I want to mix it up a little bit and add some uppercase letters in here, so I'm going to take these 2 P's and make them uppercase P's. Now we're talking. Now it takes 7 days to crack the password. And if I want to add some numerals to this or symbols or something like that, we can see the impact of that. So I'm going to put 300 in front of this. Now we just jumped to 22 years. So adding that length and putting in a little bit of complexity can dramatically improve how secure your password is. So let's go back to this screen. So again, you can use passwordmonster.com to check your password security, and there's another link here to how secure is my password. And these appear to be safe. You can try out passwords, and it doesn't look like they store them or anything like that. But just keep in mind that there's always some risk. So maybe you use a practice password that's similar to what you might use, but not the actual password when you're entering them on a site like this. So let's talk more about best practices. So say you have this nice, complex, long password that takes 22 years to crack. That may still not be quite enough. You should also enable something called two-factor authentication on every website that supports it. The first factor in two-factor authentication is your password itself. And the second factor varies. It often falls into one of 3 categories. An SMS text message is a very common second factor. This is, they have your mobile number and they text you a code and they say, enter this into the box on the page, and then we'll let you in. Experts say that this is not the best way to go if you can help it. It's better than not having two-factor authentication, but text messages can be intercepted and spoofed and things like that. So this is probably the least secure second factor that you could use, but it's still going to be an improvement over your already secure password. What experts often recommend using is something called an authenticator app to generate a one-time password. And you can see I have one to the right here. This is what a one-time password looks like from this website. If I type in 658141, that has been generated by this application on my phone. And this changes every 30 seconds or something. So you have to get the timing just right. Then it'll let you in. There's a program called Twilio Authy and Google Authenticator. Both of those are good options for authenticator apps. And some password managers even have these applications kind of built in. So it makes it a one-stop shop. And another second factor option you might consider is a physical device that plugs into your computer or phone. You can see a photo of that in the lower right-hand corner. And these are called hardware keys and are made by companies like YubiKey. And these are very secure, even more so than the password, like the authenticator app with the one-time password. They only work on certain sites, but there are a lot of sites that they work on. Things like Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Dropbox, eBay, YouTube, and countless others all can support something like a hardware key that you plug into the USB port of your computer, or maybe the lightning port of your Apple phone if you have an older one, or a USB-C port on your phone. There are different options depending on your connection type. So those are very secure. One thing to remember though, if you do get a hardware key, you should probably buy a second one at the same time to serve as your backup, because if that first one breaks, and that's like your main second factor that you're using for all these websites, you could lose access to them entirely unless you have that backup key. So buy them at least 2 at a time, and then keep the second one in a maybe a safe deposit box or something like that. So now that we have some of the best practices for passwords, let's talk about password managers. Of course, most of us can have trouble remembering a complex long password like the ones that I was generating, much less a different one for each website you visit. And because it's kind of difficult to follow these guidelines where you have a really long password in real life, I think we need a little bit of help to help us manage that. And that's where password managers come in. So why might you use one? Well, by relying on these password managers, it frees you up to use actual secure passwords on the sites you visit rather than simply something you're likely to remember. As you can see in the graphic on the page, data breaches have affected millions of people just like you and me. If you use the same password on multiple sites, you're asking for trouble. So someone that has your Netflix password that was revealed in a data breach could use that to try to log into your Amazon account if you have the same password. So you definitely want to avoid that. It's also about convenience. If you install a password manager, you'll quickly see that having all of your passwords at your fingertips makes for a really hassle-free experience. Keeping track of passwords is frankly no fun, and a password app makes this so much easier by simply requiring you to remember that single password. So what kind of password managers are out there? If you want to try one, there are a few different ways you could go about this. First of all, you could try the password manager that's built into the web browser that you use. Google Chrome offers this functionality, as do other browsers such as Mozilla Firefox and Microsoft Edge. If you consistently use the same browser for all of your online use, something like a browser-based password manager could be a good choice. The next thing you might do is use an operating system password manager. Apple's iCloud Keychain is a good example of this. So in addition to websites that you might log into, it can also store other kinds of logins like passwords for your encrypted drives or for other computers that you might access on your home or work network. If you're highly invested in one company's ecosystem like Apple's, you might be a good candidate for this approach. And the final type of password manager is a third-party application. These can be installed on your laptop and your phone, even if they're not from the same company. Third-party apps typically offer the best security of all the choices. Susan's going to talk in more great detail about browser-based and operating system-based and third-party application-based password managers. So you'll get a little more detail in a minute. But let's talk about some of the key features that you might look for when you're considering a password manager. I've mentioned this a few times, but essentially all password managers unlock with a primary password. By unlocking it with this, it sort of unlocks all your other passwords, and you have to really, to get the most out of this, select a very secure password for your primary password. Password manager programs should also offer some way for you to recover a lost password. This could be in the form of a secure code that you're given when you sign up for the service. You're asked to print this out and store in a very safe place, like a safe deposit box. Some companies allow you to designate a trusted contact who's able to assist in the process of recovering your password should you forget it. There are a whole variety of ways that companies offer to let you retrieve a lost password. Another key feature is secure password generation. Sometimes it's difficult for us, sort of by human nature, to be able to come up with a really secure password ourselves. Thankfully, these programs in many cases will automatically generate a really secure password for you and then keep track of them in the future. It's a really convenient way to improve your security. Some password managers offer you to save other things besides logins. So you might save your spouse's clothing sizes or your daughter's college loan information. Anything that you might want to access quickly, but don't want to be readily available if someone were to pick up your phone. The very best password managers offer automatic synchronization across all of your devices. So this means that when you add a password on your computer, it should be ready to go on your mobile phone very quickly, and you should be able to log in with that. You don't have to wait, hours for that to synchronize up. A lot of password managers also allow you to enable other ways to log in. This is primarily for like biometric authentication, and by that I mean your fingerprint, your face, your iris scan, however your phone might ask you to authenticate. Oftentimes these third-party or other applications can kind of take advantage of that and use that to let you log in without actually typing your master password in. Some password managers will actually notify you if your login information has been found in a data breach. And, information like this, where you're particularly and specifically at risk, can be really useful. I think for some kinds of applications, this is included in the cost, the sort of monthly fee that you might pay. For others, you have to pay extra for that. But if your password manager offers that, it's great. It may be worth checking to see whether your password manager uses something called zero knowledge architecture. This means that the password manager company doesn't know your password. And this is important because in the event of a data breach that affects the password manager company, your password is never possibly revealed to the public. So that's great. Now, the downside of this is, since they don't know your password at the home office, it makes it a little bit more difficult to retrieve your password. You're going to have those security codes that you used when you signed up for the service. So definitely keep those safe. And the final key feature that I'll mention is cross-platform availability. Many people use devices on different operating systems made by different companies. So you might have a Windows computer, you might have an Android phone, and an Apple iPad, and you'd like them all to kind of work together in some way. In cases like this, it can be useful to pick a product that works on many different operating systems. For me, this feature was essential. For others, it may not matter even a little bit. So just sort of use your own judgment as to what your particular needs are as to whether cross-platform is something that's important. So Susan is now going to talk about browser-based password managers.
Thanks, Mike. So let's dig into the nitty-gritty. I'm just pointing to there. We're going to start by looking at password managers that are native or that are built into your web browser, such as Chrome or Firefox, Edge. They all have some version of a password manager that is free to users of that browser. So it's free. Perhaps you have been on a website that requires a login, and as you are logging in, you get a pop-up that says, suggest a secure password, or do you want me to remember your password? These messages are coming from the built-in password management system of your web browser, whether it be Chrome, Edge, Firefox, or Safari through Keychain. They all have basic password management functionality. So, in fact, this is one of the easiest ways to maintain security with your logins and passwords. So what does it mean to use your browser for password management? It means that you have chosen, and the operative word here is chosen, to save your login information for specific websites in your browser. Perhaps you have asked the browser to generate a secure password for you. It might also mean that you have saved your contact information, including your address, email, phone number, and perhaps you've asked the browser to store your credit card information to make purchasing things online easier. And while using an online browser's password tool is certainly better than not using a password keeper at all, you can't easily access your passwords and other login information outside of the browser. And it makes it difficult to share login information with others that you trust. Browsers are getting better and better at being able to manage your passwords for you. While investing in a dedicated password manager is probably the best way to save your passwords safely. The tools that come as part of Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and Edge cover the basics and are definitely worthwhile. So I want to walk you through what some of the strengths and the drawbacks are of using your browser to save your passwords. And then I'm going to demonstrate how to use Chrome and how to use iCloud Keychain so that you can see firsthand just exactly what Mike and I are talking about. So many of you might already be using Chrome or Keychain, and you might not even know that you are. When you access a website that requires a login, your browser will likely offer to create a secure password. And if you're using an already set up password, your browser might offer to remember it for you. Sometimes this happens so quickly, you just click a box and you don't even realize you've done it. The benefits of using your browser to store and manage passwords is that it is an incredibly convenient way to create secure passwords, such as the ones that Mike talked about that are a long chain of numbers and lowercase and uppercase and symbols. So they will help you create these secure passwords without having to set up an entirely new application. And that might be a barrier to some people. So if that's the case, using your browser is much better than not using anything at all. That means you actually use it to create those complicated secure passwords and save them to the browser to help prevent your accounts from being hacked. Your browser is able to generate the same secure passwords that a third-party password management system that Mike mentioned, like LastPass, can do. Your browser can also automatically fill in those passwords when requested whenever you are signed into your browser's account, along with the stored credit card information and the personal data that I mentioned before that can be used to automatically fill in forms. Finally, browsers are able to alert you when one or more of your logins have been compromised due to a data breach. Not all of them do that, but Chrome does, for example, and I'm going to show that to you in a minute. So for these reasons, using a browser to store your passwords is definitely better than not using any password management at all. But browser-based password managers do have some weaknesses that you are going to want to know about before you dive headfirst into this method of storing your passwords. While it can be convenient and convenience is always a good thing, if it is so convenient that you don't really pay attention to what information you've asked your browser to store, it can be a negative. You really want to make sure that you know what sensitive information of yours is being stored and where it's being stored. So the first thing that you will want to do is to log into your browser and check to see if you have asked it to store passwords for you. You might be surprised with what you find, and I'm going to show you how to do this in just a moment. Another weakness of using your browser is that its usefulness is limited to just that browser. So if you use multiple browsers throughout the day, you're kind of stuck because these tools are designed to work with just that one browser and that browser only. So if you use Chrome on your computer, your work computer, and Safari on your home computer, and you have an Android phone, for example, you're not going to be able to sync the data between the two or three. Browser-based password managers are not as secure as third-party applications because all you need to access your password information is the browser login, which many people share with others without even realizing it. The problem arises when someone else obtains access to your system, either physically or remotely, and thereby can gain access to your entire library of passwords across different websites. Your exposure footprint at that point is massive due to the fact that all of your credentials are stored in one place, perhaps without enough protection. So that's why it's really important that if you are going to use your browser's integrated password saving capabilities, you really want to make sure that your mobile or your computer user account is protected with a master PIN or password, as Mike mentioned. And you want to make that a really strong password. Otherwise, anyone who sits down at your device is going to have access to any of your accounts that are password protected. Your device passwords are frequently the only protection mechanism separating an unauthorized user from getting your browser and stored passwords. You may want to consider not storing certain pieces of information in your web browser and then storing others just fine. For example, perhaps you don't want to store your banking information or other financial information, investment accounts or anything like that in your browser. The extra layers of security that a third-party password manager app might use would probably be a better choice with those types of sensitive pieces of information. And then finally, while your browser will create a secure password for you and remember it, not all browsers will measure the strength of the password. So you're going to want to use something like Mike was talking about earlier that will measure the strength of your password. Many of the browsers will not, or none of the browsers, I think, will allow you to customize your password. And that's something that some of the third-party password managers will enable you to do. So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and share my screen and demonstrate to you just what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share my Google screen. I hope everybody can see it. And I'm going to start by just, I'm going to start by going to Amazon. And in Amazon, I'm going to sign into my account. And so I'm going to click the sign in box right here that you can see. And up pops the sign in. And it's already pre-filled this fake email that I used to create a fake account for the purposes of tonight's program. But that's not the login I want to use. So when I click that box, it gives me the choices of several different logins, and I've created all of these fake accounts just for tonight. And so I can choose any one of these. And so I'll log into techprograms@email.com. And then I hit continue. And oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me see, let me go back. Sorry. There we go. Because I made a fake account, that's why it's not continuing. But I did want to show you that when you have already set up emails with Google Chrome, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to give you your list of logins and the passwords that you can choose from. And you can have multiple logins for the same account, as you can see here. Perhaps I want to, let's see. Perhaps I want to see what accounts I already have set up with Google Chrome. Let me show you how you do that. Up at the top, you can see this S, which is my Google Chrome login icon. Next to it are the 3 ellipses. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to go to settings. And that's going to take me to my Google Chrome settings. And the area that you're most interested in is autofill. In autofill, you can see what passwords you have set up and saved, what payment methods you have set up and saved, and what addresses and other personal information you have saved. So if I click on the passwords, it's going to give me some options. First of all, it's going to ask me if I want it to offer to save my passwords. What that means is when I'm on a website and I'm entering in my password, do I want Google Chrome to save it for me? And if I want them to offer it, if I want the browser to offer to save it to me, I'm going to make sure that I've got that toggled on, which is a good thing. Another option I have is to automatically sign into websites using the stored credentials. And if I have that turned off, that means I'm going to have to confirm every time before I sign into a certain website. If I have it on, it's going to automatically sign me into that website. One thing Google Chrome does do is it keeps track of your password safety. So I have a warning here, and if I click on the warning, it's going to tell me that I have a compromised password, that my fake capital One password that I created, which was just demo, D-E-M-O, that was found in a data breach, and therefore I should immediately change that password. So this is a really important feature of Google Chrome that I like, is that it will alert you when your passwords have been compromised and tell you, go ahead and change those passwords immediately. In addition, Google Chrome does let you know when you have weak passwords. So all of these passwords on this particular Chrome account are weak, and it gives me the option over here to go ahead and change them if I want to. And so this is a really nice feature that Chrome has. If I scroll down, I can see the list of passwords, the website, the username, and the password has been obscured, so you can't see what it is. But these are all of the passwords that I have chosen to save. If I'd like to see what they are, for example, the capital One that is a weak password, I can click on this eyeball icon. I have to enter in my Windows password because I'm on a Windows computer in order to access that. So let me just quickly type that in. And it's going to show me what my password is, which is demo, which is obviously a very weak password. Some of these others are all passwords that I had Google Chrome generate for me. And so they are all highly secure, complex and complicated passwords. Lastly, I want to show you one other feature of Google Chrome, and that is this never saved password area. This is where you're going to find your bank accounts and the financial pieces that I told you about that you really don't want to save. And I'm going to demonstrate how you get to that. If I were to go to Wells Fargo, for example, and I'm going to sign in and using my test at email, this is completely made up. And I'm going to put in like a random password, and then I'm going to say sign on. Ignore the Wells Fargo background, but notice this Google Chrome box that comes up. It asks me if I want to save this password, and it gives me the option to never save the password. And that's what I'm going to do for Wells Fargo. I'm never going to save the banking password. And if I reload Chrome and I go back to my settings, you will see that the Wells Fargo account is listed under the never saved password column. And so in a nutshell, that is how Google Chrome will save your passwords. I just want to quickly go back and show you these two other areas of autofill because they're really important and I think worth checking if you do use Google Chrome or checking on your own browser. One is the payment methods. You are able to store credit cards to make online purchasing easier, as we mentioned. If you want to see what credit cards you have stored, this is where you're going to look to find it. If you would like to add a specific credit card, you just click the add button. You enter in the card number, the expiration date, the name on the card, and you can give your card a nickname. You notice that it does not store your CVV code. If you have a credit card and you don't want to have it stored, you didn't realize you'd stored it. If you click the 3 ellipses, you're easily able to remove it just by clicking remove, and that will pull it out of your Chrome autofill. In addition, you can add addresses. So if you would like to have forms that ask you for your name, your address, your phone number, your email, if you'd like them to automatically fill, then you can put that data into Google Chrome here. And I've already created a dummy address, but if you wanted to add one, you would click add, and then you would simply fill in all of the boxes. You don't have to fill in all of it. You can leave your phone number blank. You can leave your email off. You're not required to add all of it, but you can add whatever you want. And then that way, when you're filling out a form online, you can choose this particular address to fill in the data boxes with. So in a nutshell, that is how Chrome works. I'm going to get back to my presentation now. Just a moment. So now I want to move on to talk a little bit about iCloud Keychain. So for Mac users, the Mac operating system uses keychains to help you keep track and protect your passwords, your account numbers, and other confidential information, just like you would with other browsers. Each user on a Mac will have a login keychain. The password for your login keychain matches the password that you use when you log into your Mac. Through iCloud Keychain, you can access your Safari website usernames and passwords. You can store credit card information like in Google, and you can store other pieces of information such as your Wi-Fi network information or other things that you would want to have access to. iCloud Keychain automatically keeps that information up to date across all of your Mac devices. And it's a great storage option if you live in Apple's world. But if you venture outside the Apple operating system and have a Windows or Android device, then iCloud Keychain is going to come up short. Apple does use the same encryption that Chrome and other browsers use, as well as the third-party password managers. The difference is they don't know the passcode that you use, therefore they can't access your data. And if someone was to hack into iCloud, they wouldn't be able to access your data either. And while that keeps your data secure, what it does mean is that Apple can't help you if you forget your iCloud passcode, and you're not going to be able to get into your keychain if you forget your iCloud login. So that's one drawback also to using iCloud Keychain. With Google Chrome, they do have the two-factor authentication, and they will text you a code or email a code to you. You can choose how you want it sent so that you can get back into your Google account and reset your password. So it's a little more flexible in that regard than iCloud Keychain. So what can't iCloud Keychain do? Well, it doesn't work with other operating systems and browsers, as I mentioned. And so if you can't live without within those limits, then probably it's not the best option for you. iCloud Keychain won't let you share your passwords with others. So in some of the other programs, you're able to share your a password with somebody else if you want. You cannot do that in iCloud Keychain. It also will not automatically change your passwords for you. So if you want to change a password, it's a little cumbersome in that you have to navigate to the site, log in, look for where the change password button is, and create a new one on the site. So if I wanted to create a new Amazon password, I couldn't do it through Keychain. I would have to do it from the Amazon site, and then Keychain would record that. So it's just a little bit more of a little more cumbersome. So I want to demonstrate to you how to use iCloud Keychain now. I'll do it quickly. I'm going to share a different screen. So this is a screen on my MacBook. And just like with Google Chrome, what I'm going to show you is I'm going to log into Amazon and just show you how this works so that you can see what it looks like. Sorry. My face is over the, there we go. So I'm going to go to sign in. And it already prompts me for the dummy account that I set up, techprograms@email.com. And so if I click on that and hit continue, again, it's going to tell me that there was a problem. But if it were a real email and a real account, it would fill in the email and open up Amazon for me under my account. But that's how it remembers it. If I want to go to, let's go to Uber so that I can show you what it looks like when you're trying to have it generate an email for you. So we're going to sign up. So I'm going to enter in my test email. And then I'm going to go to the word password. And this is how Safari will use Keychain to create a strong password. It pops up and I have the option of using it or not using it. I can't customize it, but if I use it, it's going to generate, a strong password that I'm not going to remember, but Keychain will remember for me. So where do we find our passwords? If we go to the top to our menu bar and we click on Safari, we want to go to Preferences. When we get to Preferences, if we go to Passwords, we're going to get a firewall here where I have to enter the password for my user account on this Mac. So when I open that up, I can see all of the passwords that I have saved in this particular user account. And then one thing that's different with Safari than with Chrome is that once I'm in, if I click on the dots that are hiding the actual password, it will show me what the actual password is. It doesn't ask for another form of identification to get in there to show the password. In addition, you can see next to this Capital One dummy account, there is a warning sign. So let's see what the details are for that. Oops, need to click on it. And what it tells me is that it's an easily guessed password.
Susan, we're still seeing the Uber shared screen, not the other one.
Oh, sorry. Let me get out of this. Okay, can you see that?
Not yet.
All right, it's saying that it has stopped sharing. Let me do that. Let me get back in it. I'm sorry. There we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go back into my Safari menu to preferences. I'm back into my passwords. Do you see the passwords?
No.
I wonder how let me change my screen, I guess. Sorry, Apple doesn't play very nice with Zoom. There, now can you see
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Okay. And so you can see here, the Capital One has a warning sign. So it says that security recommendations are available. So if I click on details, it's going to tell me that the password is easily guessed. You'll notice that I used the same login in Google Chrome, and it told me that there had been a data breach associated with this account. So it gave me one more piece of information. Google Chrome identified that it was a weak password, but also that there was a data breach. Safari Keychain is only going to warn you on the strength of your passwords. And it's not going to do the background check that Google Chrome does. And then real quick, what I want to show you, are you able to see my, just a moment, let me share my other window. I am so sorry. Okay, so real fast, the other thing I wanted to show you is how you can turn on Keychain and turn off Keychain. So you click on the Apple menu and you're going to get to System Preferences, hopefully. Oh, and it's not going to show me because of, it's not going to show me. Well, I'm sorry, Zoom isn't going to let me. I'm going to try it one more time. No, it's not going to let me. So I will just tell you that if you want to put it on, you have to go to your iCloud menu through your system preferences and look for Keychain, and there'll be a checkbox where you can either turn it off or turn it on. So if you don't want Keychain to remember your passwords, you're going to want to make sure that you turn it off instead of having it checked. So I'm sorry I can't show that to you. Like I said, Apple and Zoom don't always play nice together, and unfortunately, they're not playing nice right now. All right, so let me get back to, I want to quickly go over a couple of third-party password management systems, and then Mike's going to demonstrate how to use one of them. So there are a lot of good ones on the market. These three are really highly recommended. Bitwarden is an open source password manager, and it's completely free to use. LastPass is a very highly regarded password management application. It's very easy to use. Full disclosure, this is the one that I use. And it does have a free option. It also has a premium option that costs about $40 per year. And then, OnePassword is the recommended password management app if you're going to be using it across many different platforms, such as a Windows computer and an Apple phone and things like that. So I'll start with Bitwarden. If you're looking for a secure and a free system, Bitwarden is highly secure. It checks a lot of the boxes for password managers. It does the basics very well. It works across platforms, so you can use it on your Apple devices, your Windows devices, your Androids. It will generate secure passwords for you, just like I was showing you with Google Chrome. With the free version, you have access to something called Bitwarden Send, which will allow you to share sensitive text-based information securely. It will also autofill usernames and passwords through its browser extensions and its mobile app. On the desktop version, you are able to fill in, have form filling information like your name, address, phone number, and payment and credit card information as well, but that's only on the desktop version, not the mobile version. It also has a premium account, which is about $10 per year, and it adds an authenticator app to the system. And it does give you advanced two-factor authentication options as well. The one complaint about Bitwarden is that it's not a smooth, easy to use system. It's a little clunky. For example, it will generate a secure password for you, but it won't automatically save it for you. You have to kind of cut and paste it into the saving feature, and then do the same with the autofill. So it's not quite as smooth as some of the other systems, but it is free and it's very secure. So it could be a good option for you. LastPass has a free version. It's a more intuitive app. It's a really solid option than when compared with Bitwarden. The free plan provides the same security as the premium plan, but it does place some limits on what you can do. So with LastPass, you're going to be asked to create a password, and then it's going to suggest a secure password for you, and remember and store the login and password information like all the other password managers. The nice thing about LastPass is that you're able to organize your stored passwords so that you can find them easier when you're looking for them. So when you open up the app, you can assign them to files, or you can assign them to subcategories so that you are able to more easily locate your different types of accounts. You can also store social security numbers, bank account numbers, credit cards and debit cards, and as well as secure notes. So it's very handy. Free users get unlimited password storage. You can share with your passwords with other people. It will automatically fill forms like Google Chrome will do. And it does have a multi-factor authentication. In addition, you're able to use biometrics such as your face or your fingerprint to unlock it. The main drawback with the LastPass free version is that you are restricted to syncing data only among computers or only among mobile devices. So if you have a LastPass app on your phone, for instance, you can sync it with other mobile devices, but you cannot sync it with your computer. And if you have it on your computer, you can't sync it with your phone. The way I get around that is I have LastPass on my phone, and if I'm at my computer and I need one of the passwords I have stored, I just open up the app and I can easily see the password using Face ID, and I just hand enter it in the computer. But that is an extra step. So Mike will kind of walk you through some other options. If you go with the premium plan for LastPass, which is $36 a month, I think about, then you can access your LastPass account across devices, across platforms, and it's much slicker and easier to use that way. And then if you have multiple family members that are wanting to access the same passwords, like your Netflix account or your Amazon account, you can have a family plan that has up to 6 users on it, which can be useful. The other thing I like about LastPass that some of the other password management systems don't do is that they do offer an account recovery. It's really one of the few password managers that allows you to recover your account. So if you lose the all-important master password that will access all of your passwords. You can get a hint or that is initially set up, or you can have a code texted to your mobile phone that will allow you to reset your master password and have access to your account, which is a really nice feature. Lastly, I'm going to talk about OnePass. OnePassword is as equally intuitive as LastPass. It does not offer a free option, but its premium version is comparable to LastPass's premium version in terms of the functionality and price. You're going to get all of the same things. It can be used on different systems, across different platforms, on different devices. You have unlimited password storage, and you have 1 GB of document storage that you can use to store important sensitive documents that you've scanned into the account. They do have support available. They do have 2-factor authentication, and you can share your sensitive information securely with anyone using OnePassword. You can use OnePassword on an unlimited number of devices as well. If you are wanting to decide between LastPass and OnePassword and you want to give them a try, both of them offer 14-day trial periods, so you could try them without actually paying for them and see how they work for you. But overall, they're very functional. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and he's going to do our last demonstration to show you exactly what these password management systems look like.
Thanks, Susan. So I thought I would do something a little different and demo from my iPad, so you can see kind of what that interface looks like. So the password management application that I use is OnePassword. And I think Susan sums it up pretty nicely that LastPass and OnePassword are pretty comparable features wise. It's kind of a matter of preference, really, to what you think will work best for you. So OnePassword, the icon I have down in my dock, it's the 5th one from the left. It kind of looks like a lock. So I'm going to click on that and open it up. So I have my biometric unlocking, I guess, that option checked. So you can see that I can put in my Touch ID for OnePassword, which I'm going to do. And you can see these are all of the items that I have. Now, OnePassword allows you to break things up into different vaults. So that's that icon at the very upper left-hand corner that's kind of rainbow shaped. I'm going to click on that. And I have different vaults. I have my personal vault, I've got my demo vault, and I've got my work vault. I'm going to click on the demo vault. Oops, I can't click on it. I have to actually press it. Okay. So for the purposes of this demo, I've created some logins here. So if I click on all items, it looks like I have 3 things. I have Sleepmaker, I've got Parfumo.net, and security code for alarm. This is just to show you the variety of things that you could add into OnePassword. So Parfumo.net is actually a login to a website. So I'm going to click on that. And this is sort of what the entry for that particular website looks like. So I've entered in Trust the Nose. That's my username and my password. If I click on this, it allows me to either copy it to the clipboard, reveal it, or show it in large type. So if I click on reveal, that is my password for this site. So I could type that in if I wanted to, if I had it on my phone and I just wanted to type it in on a computer. If you want to, you can show it in larger type, which makes it really easy to see if you're doing that sort of thing. Or you can, again, just copy it to the clipboard. It allows you to save a website. So I know this is Parfumo.net. I could launch that website directly from here if I wanted to. And another thing that I like is if you scroll down to previously used passwords, this can be handy. Like if you're making a new password for a website and something doesn't quite go right and you need to access the password that you used a few minutes ago to log in, you can do the same thing and copy or reveal that one. So that could be handy as you're setting up or changing passwords. So going back to our main list here, I made up this application name called Sleepmaker. And this is if you have a software application that you've registered for and they send you this code online that you're supposed to enter into your computer or something. So I just copied and pasted it from an email. This is a fake one, of course, into the license key field. And oftentimes they'll ask you for what your registered username is. And I put george@ofthejungle.com, and that's not a real email address, but I could, I could copy that license key and paste it into my application if I wanted to. And then finally, just to show you kind of the note field, I have this one called security code for alarm, and this is not real either. So under notes here, you can see I've got a note that says 756305 is what the code is. So I could enter that in. If I don't get to it in time, I've also put in the 1-800 number for calling the security company to tell them it's a false alarm. So you could put that kind of information in there. So that's the interface. I'm going to show you how it kind of looks in real life when you're using it. So I'm going to open up Safari. And you may remember that I had an entry for Parfumo.net. So I am going to click on the login buttons near the upper right-hand corner of the page. So I click on login, and it pops up this thing at the bottom that says login using OnePassword. Why, yes, I think I will. So I'm going to click on use trust the nose, and then authenticate with OnePassword. And then it automatically inputs everything, and I'm in. So that's kind of how it works in practice on a mobile device. So I'm going to log out now. And let's go to a website where I don't have a password or a username. So Kelly Blue Book. I don't have an account on here, so I'm going to click on the little person looking icon near the upper right-hand corner. And it's saying create account is one of the options. Underneath don't have an account, I can create an account. So I'm clicking on that. And then at this point, I can, if you see in the little virtual keyboard here, there's a keychain. So I can click on the keychain, and it's asking, do I want to check one of my sources for passwords to see if I have a login? So I'm going to click on OnePassword. It's asking me to authenticate, and it didn't find one, but would you like to create one? So I'm going to say, yes, let's create a login. And what'll be my name? I'll say I am Ford Truck Guy. And then I could create a password of my own, but I think I'll let OnePassword help me a little bit. So there's a little gear icon that's towards the bottom of that field. I'm going to click on the gear icon, and you can sort of get it to give you a completely secure random password like the one that's in the box here, or you could do something a little more memorable, which is a string of words that are sort of randomly thrown together. That could be a good one. Or you could do a pin, which probably isn't a good idea. So I think I'll do the random one, and I'll click save and fill. So now I got that wrong. I'm going to cut that, paste that in the password field. I want to choose my own password. That was Safari asking me if I wanted to choose to have it suggest a password. So there, I just pasted in the password from kbb.com on OnePassword. I could put in an email address, george@ofthejungle.com, and then confirm the password. I'm going to go back to OnePassword and copy that again. Demo. Oh, I bet I have to search for it. That's interesting. Maybe it saved it in my main vault. There it is. So I'm just going to copy that again for the second password field just to confirm it. Go back to Safari, paste that in there, paste. So now those should line up, and I'll create an account. Now, of course, iCloud is asking me if I want to save it there. I'll say, no, I don't want to. And then they've sent an email to george@ofthejungle.com, so I could check that and activate my account. So that's the general process for OnePassword. You get the gist. It's not that different from the other options. It just has its own little spin on it. I've been very happy with OnePassword, and I'm sure LastPass, Susan is very happy with it. We were both talking to each other and saying, you know, how did we ever manage without a password manager? It's really that convenient and that useful. So that sort of concludes our prepared remarks, but we're happy to take questions, or Susan, if you had anything you'd like to add.
Well, I did have a question. Somebody wrote in to go through what I do to get around the LastPass constraints for the free account. So I have LastPass on my phone. I will log into my LastPass login on my phone to find my passwords. And then I'll take my phone while I'm at the computer and just hand input the password at the site. And that way I'm not storing anything on my computer. I'm pulling up the password from my phone app and then manually entering it into the website that I need to enter it into. And that's my way around it. And it's really not that cumbersome. I use my phone a lot for the internet anyway. And I've stored some secure notes on it that I use for wire transfers or social security numbers or different things. And I find it to be very intuitive and very easy to use. And truly $36 a month for the paid version a year for the paid version is not going to break the bank anyway. That's it might be worth it just for the ease of use.
Yeah, I obviously, since I have OnePassword, I don't have a free option, so I have to pay it. And for me, it's been absolutely worth it. I think my subscription price is somewhere in that ballpark, $36-$40 a year, something like that. And it's so worth it. I can't even explain it.
So yeah, I first tried LastPass with I was being nudged strongly by my husband to use a password manager, and I went begrudgingly, and that's why I started with the free version, because I was like, oh, I don't need this. This is, I can remember everything in my head. And then I got into it and realized, no, the ones I can remember in my head are also the ones that hackers are going to hack us in a second. So I need to use something more secure. Are there any other questions?
Do any of you use password managers currently? And if so, which ones have you tried and do you like them?
Yes, Karen, you're on mute, but you're welcome to unmute yourself.
Trying to do that. There we go. All right. Actually, I have for years had a system that designs exquisitely memorable long passwords that are considered extremely strong when measured by anything. I mean, we're talking 15 or more characters, but systems that make it memorable, and I've taught that to people. But I have run into the problem that now, as I start to get hundreds of passwords because I use a unique, memorable password for every site. You need almost a dictionary of your own passwords to know which one goes with this site and which goes to that site. So I was thinking about maybe using a password manager, but I would want one that I pick the password, not them. And it seems I missed it, but it sounds like some of the ones are suggesting they pick the password for you. Or do you have an option to pick it yourself?
No, so if you're using the browser, you can actually, even with
I would
LastPass.
not use a browser.
Yeah, if you're using LastPass, and I'm sure OnePassword is the same, it will save whatever password you enter into the site. It can generate a secure password, but it will save, if you already have one, it will save that password. You know, a lot of mine are ones that I have made up that are secure.
Most of mine are as well. So
yeah. So you
it's
just don't use the generator. You're just going to save it. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to use a browser because I'd be concerned about the security of the browser, quite honestly. So there are other methods. And so I was just wondering about that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you have a system that works that can generate those good passwords. That's very important.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
I've been using LastPass for a while. I don't feel that I've ever finished entering and setting the whole thing up. It works sometimes, but I was getting across the top, I don't know what you call it. It's hard to explain without you saying about what my hands are doing. But at the top, there used to be a little LastPass logo type thing on that line at the top where you have everything that's open, and that disappeared, and I can't get it back to put it up there, and I don't know what happened to it. How do I get that to put back up on that line?
So you're using it on your computer?
Yes.
Okay. Boy, I am not familiar with the desktop LastPass, but this is what I'll do, Susan. I will look into that, and I will contact you tomorrow by email because I have your email, and I will let you know what I find out.
Okay. I wish I could tell you the name of that line up at the top, but there's all these things that you could open up, and it used to be there and I could open it up, but it just disappeared, and I've searched it, I've Googled it, I can't find out how to get it back. So I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, we use it at work on the computer, so I can take a look at it and see, because I know what you're talking about. It's up in the corner, and it's that little logo thing. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or thoughts? Well, thank you so much. We're glad that you were all able to join us tonight. Apologize for some of the technical difficulty with my iMac screen. We will be sending out an email tomorrow with copies of our slides, as well as a link to complete a very brief program evaluation form, like 3 questions. And then next week, as Mike said, the program will be posted on our website under the recorded programs page. So if you want to watch it again or direct someone to see it, you're more than welcome to. And as always, we're available to answer any questions at the library that you might have. So feel free to reach out that way as well.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming tonight. We really appreciate your attendance.
Thank you.
Yep. Good night.
Good night, everybody.